guys and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm trying out a new foundation that's just launched on the market and it's supposed to have a 24-hour wear, and this is the Estee Lauder Double Wear Nude Water Fresh Makeup. And as you guys know, I'm obsessed with a double wear foundation. It's my holy grail. If I know that I need to have a foundation that's going to last all day, then double wear is the one that I wear because it lasts all day and it looks exactly the same when I take it off at night to when it does when I first put it on. So it's incredible. So I've seen this all over the internet for the past month, and when I saw it on Boots I was like, I really need to get that. It is supposed to be the same as a double wear foundation but just in a lighter formula, and it does have loads more ingredients to make your skin a little bit more healthy and give it a little bit more of a glow. Also, it is supposed to be oil controlling, and as you guys know, if you do watch my videos, I do have a super oily T-zone, and hardly any foundations manage to have oil control for them. The only one that I've managed to find that actually looks really good on my skin throughout the whole day is the double wear foundation. So I have very high hopes for this because I do like the double wear, and I'm hoping this is going to last as long if not longer than that, because it does say it's supposed to have 24-hour wear. The foundation retails for £32.50, and in the UK they do have 33 different shades, and I picked up two different ones because I wasn't too sure which shade that I'd be. I have 2W2 Rattan and 3W1 Tawny. Now my self tan is quite dark at the moment, so I wasn't too sure if I was going to be one of these or if I was going to be in the middle, so I decided to get both of them just to see what they'd look like on the skin. So it says on the website it's lightweight with SPF 30, anti-pollution, 24-hour wear, light to medium coverage, and it also says that the finish is real skin and satin. So because it does say that it's oil free and oil controlling, I have a feeling it's going to work very well on my skin, and I do have very high hopes for it. And I also like the fact that it is hydrating as well, because sometimes my skin can get dehydrated because it is so oily, and I try and use products that are oil control, it can get a little bit dry, so I feel like that's going to be a really good thing for me. It also contains antioxidants and red fruit extracts including watermelon, lychee seed and apple. So it seems like it's going to be a really good foundation. I just wanted to have a foundation that felt a little bit lighter on my skin when I go to work, and also something that doesn't feel very heavy on the skin, doesn't look very cakey, and something that is going to last all day with my oils. I have really high hopes for this foundation and I'm really excited to test it out, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom in and we're going to test out this foundation. These are the two shades that I have of the foundation. I have 3W1 Tawny and 2W1 Rattan, and as you can see they do look quite similar just in the bottle, and I love the way that this bottle looks, and it just feels really nice. It looks really nice and sleek as well, and I also like the fact that it looks pretty much the same as a normal double wear foundation, only it's just a lot longer. So this is 30ml or 1 fluid ounce, which is the same as usual foundations, and it also has SPF 30. Now on the website it does say that to use it you need to shake it up, put your finger over the top and then tilt it up and then put it on the skin and then use a brush to blend in. And I don't really use brushes for any of my foundations just because I feel like it can look a little bit streaky. So before I apply my foundation I'm going to use my Makeup Forever Step 1 Mattifying Primer, and this is a primer that I use for all of my foundations. The only foundation I've found that I don't need to use this primer with is the Double Wear foundation, because that one just controls all of my oils anyway. So I'm just going to put this on just so I get a little bit more oil control throughout the day. So the shade that I'm going to use today is 2W2 Rattan, and I'm just going to see how it matches with my neck. So I'm just going to get a little bit out and I'm just going to tip it up just like that. Then I'm going to pop a little bit and see what the colour looks like compared to my neck. And then I'm just going to try 3W1 Tawny and see what that looks like on the skin. So this is what Tawny and this is what Rattan looks like, and I feel like that Tawny looks pretty much the exact same colour as my neck, so I'm going to go ahead and use Tawny today. So I'm just going to shake it up, and I'm not too sure how much of this to use. It doesn't say on the website how much to use, but I think I'm probably just going to go ahead and pop about 4 dots on my face. And as you can see I do have quite a lot of blemishes, a lot of redness. I'm not expecting it to cover it up because it is meant to be a light to medium coverage, so we're just going to see if it just evens out my skin tone or if it looks really nice and flawless on the skin. I'm really hoping that it gives me a second skin effect, but I'm not going to be too shocked if it doesn't cover up all of this, because this is a lot of redness and a lot of blemishes. So I'm just going to put 1, 2, 3, 4. So when I tip it out it feels quite weird to do that with a foundation, because I only actually have one other foundation I've had to do that with, and that's the L'Oreal Nude Magique foundation, and that one was very watery, and this one it actually feels quite thick compared to that one. Even though it is a water foundation it feels a lot thicker than that one. So to buff this out I'm just going to use my Sigma Flat Kabuki F80, and I've done 4 dots on the skin just to see how this covers up. It says that you can build it up to a medium coverage, but it does start out to be light, so I'm just going to buff this out. So I literally feel like that's just buffed out into nothing. It doesn't look like light coverage, it doesn't look like medium coverage, it literally looks like nothing on the skin. So what I think I'm going to do, I think I'm going to put another 4 drops on the face, and I think I'm going to use my beauty blender because I feel like that using a beauty blender works really well, and I feel like that the brush just soaked up all of the products. So I'm going to go ahead and do another 4 drops, and I'm just going to blend this out. And already I feel like that the coverage is so much better with the beauty blender. I feel like that I am actually getting some kind of coverage, whereas before I didn't have any coverage. So I feel like that for me the beauty blender is the way to go with this foundation, and that's pretty much the same with all of my foundations. So this is just 4 drops on the skin, and as you can see the coverage is really good. I feel like it's a light to medium coverage with just 4 drops on. The colour match is really good as well, and as you can see there is a very big difference between both the sides. This one is with 4 drops, this one is with nothing, and I have so many blemishes, so much acne on this side and a lot of redness, and on this side I seem to have hardly anything. It's really covered up my redness really well, and it feels like a satin matte finish. So I'm going to go ahead and put on a couple more drops just to see if I can build up this foundation and see what it looks like. So this is what the foundation looks like with 2 layers on the skin, and as you can see I have a really good medium coverage on this side, and it's covered up pretty much all of my redness. I just have a little bit on my cheek, and it's covered up almost all of my blemishes as well, which I'm really happy about. I didn't think it would even go anywhere near this coverage. I just thought it'd be a really light coverage, and I really like it. So as you can see the colour match is really good for my neck, and yeah, I really like it. I don't look oily on the skin, it looks like a satin matte finish. It did buff out a lot better with the beauty blender, so I definitely recommend that. I love the finish of it. It looks really natural. It looks like that it is a second skin look. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other side of my face, and I'm going to come back and show you what it looks like. So this is what the foundation looks like on both sides of my face, and I have to say that I really do love the way that it looks. It's covered up almost all of my blemishes and almost all of my redness. I do still have redness on my chin and a couple of bits on my cheeks that are peeking through, but I'm not really too bothered about that because I just expected to get a sheer coverage out of this foundation, and I feel like it looks really good. I am a little bit shiny on my forehead, but I think that's probably because I've just put it on, and I probably will need to powder anyway. So this is what the foundation looks like, and I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of my makeup and show you what it looks like. So I've just finished off my makeup, and this is what it looks like, and I do really like the foundation. The only thing that I do have to say is that it did look quite oily on the skin, so I did try and put some powder on my skin, and right here and right here it has started to look a little bit cakey, and I feel like that's just because it did look quite oily on the skin, and trying to put powder straight on top of things that do look oily can make it go a little bit cakey. But the rest of my foundation looks really good. My blush, my highlighter, everything just went on perfectly, and it does look really nice. But the thing is, you do have to work very quickly with this. It's exactly the same as other double wear foundation. You have to work in sections and work very quickly when you apply your concealer and your blush and your bronzer and things like that, because it can start to look cakey and it does dry down pretty quickly. But I did notice with this one it did look a little bit more hydrating on the skin. It did look a little bit more oily, and now I feel like it looks perfect for me because I have applied a little bit of powder, and I'm really excited to see how this is going to go throughout the day. The colour match is really good for me. I do have to mention about the very messy application. So putting your finger over the top and tipping it up like that and then tipping it back up, the foundation can go everywhere, and I've got spots all over my laptop, all over my bed as well from when I've been doing my makeup, and it's gone quite messy. So it's 10:15 in the morning, and I'm going to go to work, and I'm going to see how this foundation's going to go. I'm not going to wear it for 24 hours, but I'm going to try and wear it for a very long time, for as long as I can. I'm going to try and wear it for at least 10 hours and show you what it looks like and tell you if I like it. So I'm going to come back in a few hours and give you my final first impression review and let you know how I feel about the foundation. Bye! Hi guys, so I'm back and it's now 8 o'clock in the evening, so I've had this foundation on for nearly 10 hours now, and I feel like now is the best time for me to give you my final first impression and give you my final update as well. So looking at my skin, I feel like it's done quite well. I feel like it's done a lot better than all of the other light to medium coverage foundations that I have in my makeup collection, and for me this was just a really weird foundation because it was a water foundation, and I've only ever tried one of those out and it didn't really work very well on my skin, and it didn't last very long at all, and this one seemed to work really well, so I'm really impressed with it. Now I can see that it has come off quite a lot on the bottoms of my cheeks. So on the left side it's come off quite a lot, and you can see all of my redness and all of my blemishes on there. It's also come off on my chin, and then on the right side I actually have more product still on there than on the left side, which is a little bit strange, but it still looks pretty good. My forehead looks a little bit shiny at the moment, and then down the sides of my nose it does look oily, but I do have very oily skin, so to be honest I'm not really too shocked that I am starting to look oily after 10 hours, and most foundations don't tend to last this long on my skin anyway, so I do think it's really good and I do like it for that. And it has controlled my oils really well. So when I was at work I actually looked at my skin after about 6 or 7 hours and my skin was only just starting to get oily then. I feel like if I powdered or blotted at that time it would probably look a lot better, and I feel like if I do just blot and just apply a little bit more powder then it will pretty much look like I could just go out anyway. And it does look cakey on the sides of my nose, but it did look cakey when I first applied it. I think it was one of those foundations that I sort of have to get used to because I'm not used to wearing dewy foundations, and I did need to apply some powder to it, and that's when it started to look a little bit cakey on there. Also I do wear glasses as well, so that's why it's rubbed off on the sides of my nose, because I have no foundation on there and my glasses have rubbed on there. And to be honest I feel like it's done pretty well for this amount of time. I didn't think it would last that long on my skin. Like I said, it is a light to medium coverage foundation and I didn't think it would last that long. To be honest I was expecting a bit more from this foundation. The fact that it says that it's 24-hour wear, I was really excited to try it out, and I feel like on my skin, because I do have very oily skin, I feel like it would probably last me 12 hours if I do blot and powder during the day. Now after 10 hours of wear I do feel like it's done pretty good, especially for a foundation. It is just a light to medium coverage. I can see some blemishes on my skin and I can see a little bit of redness, but not all of that was covered up when I first applied it anyway. And I think with applying the beauty blender I feel like it just applied it a little bit too heavy, and I think next time I will try it with a brush again. And I think because this was a first impression and I didn't really get a lot of coverage from the brush, I decided I was going to go ahead and use a beauty blender, but I feel like next time I will use the brush just to see if I can get a better coverage or if it looks a little bit better on the skin and if it lasts a bit longer as well. I feel like it's done pretty well on my skin during the work day and even longer, and it is the middle of summer as well, so it's been very hot here, and I feel like it's controlled my oils pretty well as well, and it doesn't look cakey really on the skin. There's only certain areas where it does look cakey, but like I said, it has worked out a lot better than all of my other light to medium coverage foundations in my collection, and I feel like it's worked a lot better than some of my full coverage foundations as well. I feel like this is probably number 3, probably my 3rd favourite foundation I have in my collection, and that's pretty high because I do have quite a lot of them. I do feel like the Estee Lauder Double Wear Original is still my holy grail, and that's something that I love. Now I was expecting it to last longer than a double wear foundation just because it does say 24-hour wear, and like I said I feel like it's only going to last about 12 hours on my skin before it starts to look a little bit horrible. So that's just one thing I was a little bit disappointed about with this foundation. Now I do like the fact that it's hydrating and it also has oil control and is oil free, and it has really controlled my oils during the day, because if I do use one of my other foundations that I just use for work, so just a lighter foundation, then it does come off very badly on my forehead and I end up having absolutely no product on there, and then I get super oily and then I have nothing on the sides of my cheeks. So I feel like this foundation has performed a lot better than the majority of my foundations I have in my collection, so I am really happy that I got this, and I am going to be testing this out a lot more because I do like it. It felt like I wasn't wearing a lot on my skin at all. I just basically felt like I wasn't wearing any foundation, and with applying this foundation it is pretty messy as well. So when you apply it you just have to put your finger over the top, then you have to tip it up and then tip it back up again, and then you apply it to your face using your finger. Now I noticed when I was doing this, when I was lifting my finger up I'd get foundation that would be dripping off, and it pretty much went everywhere, so it is quite a messy application. So just be warned that you shouldn't be wearing your best clothes when you are using this because it can go everywhere. So I am going to have to see if I can find another way of getting the foundation out without it going everywhere, because it does say on the website that you shouldn't tip it up and you should just use the finger motion instead. So overall I do like this foundation. I feel like it's hydrated my skin. I feel like it's done really well on the oil control, but just keep in mind when you do use this foundation you do have to work pretty quickly and in sections like the original double wear foundation, because it can start to look cakey if you leave it for a little bit too long and then you apply product over the top. Now I do have very oily skin and I did apply powder to it and it did work really well, but like I said before it did start to go cakey on the sides of my nose, and I don't really know why. I think it's just because it was a very hydrating foundation and it just didn't really want to soak up the powder as well, and it just sort of decided to look a little bit weird. So for 10 hours of wear I feel like I do still like what the foundation looks like on my skin. I could probably just get a little bit more of this and then just top it up and then just blot a little bit more and put a little bit more powder on. Also just to let you know about the shades, they are a little bit different to the original double wear foundation. Now I do have 2W2 Rattan in the double wear foundation, that is my shade, and then this one is 3W1 Tawny, and they look very similar. There's only a little bit of difference between the Tawny in in this one and the Rattan in the original. So if you do want to buy this foundation, I definitely recommend that you get colour matched at a counter, because I do feel like these run a little bit too light compared to the original ones. I do really like this foundation, and I feel like it's going to be in my routine for my work makeup, and I do like the fact that you can have a light coverage or you can have a medium coverage with it. I feel like that's a really good thing, because if you don't want to have really heavy makeup on, you can just do a sheer coverage look with it. So I do really like that, and I like the formula of this, and I feel like it's really good, but I do feel like I'll probably have to get used to it, and I am going to be wearing it for work. I'm going to test it out a little bit more. I'm going to be using it with a brush, with a beauty blender, and see what I think of it, and I'm going to do a full review on this foundation to let you know how I like it after a couple of uses and how I feel like the best way to apply it is as well. So this is my final review of the Estee Lauder Double Wear Nude Water Fresh Makeup, and I hope that you enjoy this video, and make sure that you give it a very big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in my next video, guys. Bye!